What is up, you guys? It's Alliteration Gaming today, back with another deck profile. This time I've got my boy, Will Taylor, and we're going to be doing a Eraserhead list for you. Will, tell us what symbol this Eraserhead list is under.
So, I'm playing Eraserhead under Death.
That one.
Yep. Death has a whole lot of really cool tools to really help you stall out the game and keep yourself healthy throughout. Has a lot of cool ways to take away your opponent's their best toys and just really mess with their game plan in ways they really didn't see coming.
Yeah, apathetic and super regen can define a deck.
Absolutely.
And this is also the deck that you piloted in the most recent provisional.
It is.
Yep. All right, well, let's get right into it, man. So obviously, Eraserhead is our character card. If you don't know what he does, before the game begins, you get to put one of these cool erase cards in your discard pile, and at any point in time, he can discard a card to grab an erase card from your discard pile. Given an attack +2 or -2 speed, this is a pretty insane ability. Basically, just free speed pump and free speed reduction to all yours and all of their attacks. Pretty nutty. And then anytime you play or block with an action, you can go ahead and commit him to draw 2 cards. So once you're done sapping their speed, you just need you some cards, you can go ahead and just give him a tap and he's going to draw you 2 cards. So he's a pretty insane character. And then Erase itself is a pretty gnarly little action card with a Eraserhead response that says when an attack is played, you can play it. Your rival cannot play abilities on their character during this attack, and then it discards itself from the card pool. So it puts itself back in the discard pile for Eraserhead to continuously pick up and continue erasing your opponent's character, denying their abilities during their attacks or during your own attacks. And it's also a +1 mid block with Breaker 1. And at any point in time, you can also enhance and remove itself from the game to go ahead and seal one of their assets or foundations. So, like, what kind of attracted you towards making this character, Will?
I've always enjoyed control decks, and Eraser tends to be a bit of a control deck. He likes to make his life easy to block your attacks and make sure that you're not touching him, or if you are, it's entirely on his terms. And that's the way that Eraser likes to play the game, and it's the way I like to play the game. I don't like giving my opponent free reign on the game. I like forcing them to play the way I want them to play.
Yeah, I think it's hard to deny that Eraserhead is the definitive control deck in the game right now. Obviously, he's the only one that can affect non-character or character abilities, right? Anyone can put copies of Nightwatch in their deck, but no one is touching characters besides this guy. He's really strong character, definitely ranks very highly in the meta right now, and I think really defines a lot of deck choices and decks that people are really allowed to take to big events. So enough about Eraserhead and his handy dandy erase. Let's move on to the rest of the deck. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the actions. Will, let's talk...
Actions.
Yeah, I'm sorry, with actions? With the attacks. Yeah, let's talk about some attacks, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the most important one in the deck, 4 copies of Float Combo.
Float Combo. So Float Combo is a very cool attack. It's going to be a 5 diff, 6 high for 4. It's got a combo with a high attack, and you can combo enhance to switch its speed and damage. And then it has an enhance that says if it's completely blocked, it still deals 1 damage. So why is this card here?
So this card's here for a whole lot of reasons. It's extremely versatile with Eraser because of the way that you can use the enhance on Eraser's character card. You're able to kind of combo this with other cards in the deck in order to make a really versatile attack. You can either have it as an 8 high for 4, a 4 high for 8, or a 6 mid for 6, or 6 high for 6. And that way you get to kind of take advantage of the resources that your opponent has already committed and be able to make the best choice at the time. If you know they have no cards in hand, being able to switch it to an 8 damage move is really beneficial, because one of the things that Eraser tends to struggle with is being able to put through big damage. So 8 is a very respectable way to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Also, at any point in time, like, you can just send this in as an 8 high for 4, and that's basically a throw.
Yep.
8 high is pretty much unblockable.
Yeah, especially in the early game.
Yeah, and if they are capable of blocking it, like, they're not going to. It's only 4 damage.
Yeah.
But to Eraserhead, who wants to play this long tempo control game, that's a very precious 4 damage.
This is also a really important card because of some sideboard choices that I made. But we'll go into those a bit more later. Next is 4 copies of Turn to Dust.
Turn to Dust. Turn to Dust is a pretty insane card. It's a 4 high for 5. It's got EX2 and Stun 2. Stun 2 is a very, very, very powerful set of words. And it's got an enhance to destroy one of your own foundations. You destroy one of their foundations committed by this stun ability, or they can lose 2 health to cancel this ability. And then it also has an enhance to lose 2 health. Your rival loses 2 health. They can destroy a foundation to cancel this ability. So what's kind of the whole idea behind Turn to Dust in this deck?
Turn to Dust is probably my best starter card. Because it is a high attack, so it combos with Flip Combo for its combo enhance. But primarily it's going to be about the Stun 2 and that top enhance to really be able to pinpoint remove elements of my opponent's board that I don't like dealing with. A lot of things like wall clings and other elements like that are obnoxious to deal with for Eraser just because it's, like I said earlier, you want them playing on your terms, not theirs. And this is a card that really disrupts the flow that your opponent is trying to go for, and makes a lot of problems for them. The other luxury that Eraser has that'll in Death that he doesn't in his other symbols is that you can play a little bit more loose with your health pool. So being able to pay that life and force them into hard decisions is really, really nice to be able to do that and then recover later on with super regen or something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like, it's an attack that, yes, like, the 2 abilities are basically, hey, there's going to be 2 instances of destroy a foundation or lose 2 health. You can pick how you want to take them. And at the same time, though, both, like, taking the 2 instances either way is like a progression of the game state, right? Like, it just comes in, stuns 2, and then progresses your game state, the game state advantage in your favor, right? Because you're just getting a lot more control over them. The lose 2 health can be a little rough in Eraserhead, but we are playing on our death, so we get to play copies of Super Regen, so it makes it a lot more manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. So next is 3 copies of Binding Cloth Capture.
Oh yes, the sauce.
Yes,
the sauce.
This card can really ruin your opponent's day. There's a few combo cards in here. Primarily, this is going to follow your float combos in order to really be able to rip cards out of your opponent's hand, disrupt their game plans, and no one's ready for 1, let alone 2 Binding Cloth Captures that follow something up and rip those cards out of their hand that they were planning to block with. And also, most of the other attacks thus far have been highs, and that'll be kind of the trend across a lot of the deck. So having low attacks come in when they least expect it is a really good way to just get a little bit of extra damage across. Yeah,
this card is insane. It being a 3 diff 4 low for 5 is like already strong, but the fact that you can go ahead and make them discard a card is insane. Double Binding Cloth like pretty much kills people.
Yeah,
like, double Binding Cloth just pretty much says that you better have some way to draw those cards back, or like you're dying, right?
Yeah,
like you're dying. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm Eraserhead, I'm attacking you 5 times and you discarded 2 cards. Like, what are you gonna do about that, bro? You didn't hold 7? What do you mean you didn't hold 7? And then just the seal is so handy. The seal comes in like crazy clutch.
It's really clutch on those moments where they thought they had something really nice to use. Oh, I've got this super regen that's going to keep me at a healthy state for that next attack. No, you don't.
You certainly don't. You certainly don't. Oh, you've got this wall cling because you didn't hold a low block, because like, who has low blocks in MHA, right? So yeah, that's our Binding Cloth Capture. And also, I understand that you only get all of these abilities if you have the XR copies. That's correct, right?
I mean, that's the reason that I have only XRs.
Yeah, I believe it is the unwritten rule. All right, what we got next, sir?
Next is probably one of the other most powerful cards in the deck, just because of how disruptive it is, and that's Naval Laser Beam.
Naval Laser Beam. So this comes in starts out as a 3 mid for 6, which is already pretty attractive, right? And it's gonna be the main I think draw here, right? Is our +2 mid block with Breaker 2. Breaker, just having Breaker on top of all the disruption that Eraserhead already provides is really valuable. And then for our enhances, we have a first enhance to pitch momentum and unflip 2 foundations. So that just kind of lets us reuse our super regens and our apathetics, which is just insanely strong. And we're going to be getting the momentum a lot in this deck just because of the pokes, right?
Yep,
the
absolutely.
super high speed pokes are just really going to get our chip damage in there. And then if you need to make it any cooler, you can flip a foundation to give it 2 speed, and you can do the same thing for 2 damage, which is like really, really strong, right? Because like it's Eraserhead, right? So it's starting out as a 5 mid for 6 because of our erase loop, and from there on out, I mean, it can be a 7 mid for 6, which is just scary. It can be
7 mid for 8.
7 mid for 8, depending on how much you have to flip. Like, yeah, this is a crazy, crazy, crazy card.
And there are definitely foundations that you wind up running naturally that just are kind of dead in certain matchups. So flipping them down for costs on this can really help you out in the long game.
Yeah, I think it's really cute that like if your hand is like flooded with Night Watches, you can just flip your Night Watches and then build a new one so that the unique doesn't hurt you too much.
Yep. Now I've got two ofs that are kind of unique and a little bit more techy. Instant Shining Flash is something that I run primarily for the Ogiro matchup.
Yep, that makes sense because when you play this foundation, it's got a response. When you play this card, it's got a response that your rival discards 1 momentum. So playing the card also includes blocking with the card. So anytime you play this as an attack or block with it on this nice 1 low block that it has, very much a premium in our deck as well. You get to just make them discard 1 of their momentum, which is really, really powerful. And then it's got it enhanced to go ahead and flip a foundation to give our next card we attempt to play -1 difficulty. So that could be attack or foundation. Yeah.
And
it's nice. It's nice.
It's a really nice little card. It also starts off our flip combos as well as an alternative. Plus, it gives you that option to, like, if Ogiro is attacking you, and Ogiro is one of the hard matchups for Eraser.
Ogiro do be attacking you.
Yeah. But if she throws down that unwavering slash, you half block it with your super regen on board. You block it with this. Make sure that her momentum isn't there for her to use for her
sound waves. Yep.
And it can really disrupt their plays and take what would have been a lethal turn and turn it into something you survive.
Yeah, if you're able to keep Ogiro off momentum, that is kind of the key to defeating that character, which is a very, very relevant matchup for Eraserhead because he just doesn't really do a whole lot against Ogiro. You can't stop her responses, so you have to be able to fight her in some way. And anytime I'm steering across Ogiro and she can't use specialized sound waves, I'm substantially less afraid of the character.
Yep, absolutely.
So this is definitely like a hard meta call of an attack right there.
Yep. And the last one is going to be 2 copies of Corrosion Lunge. This one's one of those off-zone attacks that's really nice to throw at somebody. It's relatively high damage but low speed. But it's one of those things that, like, this is probably going to get through. They're either going to be low enough that they have to block it and you get the secondary benefit, or it's going to just be something that they just go, yeah, I have to eat this, otherwise the next one's bigger.
Yeah. With this enhanced, like, oh, you block this, my next one gets +2/+2. That's extremely powerful. It's a 5 low for 5 in Eraser, which, like, they eat the 5, then you're like, cool, I'll build 3 pass, right? Like, I got my poke in, I got my momentum coming in, and, like, I'm chilling now. And then if they do block it, you can send in something that is much more threatening with those really nice pumped up stats. And then again with Eraserhead, it's coming in with 4 speed and 2 damage because all of our stuff has +2 speed.
Yep.
You can make something very, 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 very threatening. You know, like, hey, what happens when I send in the flip combo after this, right? I'm not getting our combo, right? But I'm coming in at a 10 high for 6.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. I like 6 damage, and you already, you know, like that's just really, really powerful poke potential right there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So that's our whole attack lineup, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get on to some foundations.
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the best foundation in the deck. 4 copies of Super Regeneration.
Super Regen. Flip after you lose health to your rival's attack or effect. Flip and gain 3 health. I mean, this card's just crazy. This card's crazy.
This just kind of, if you manage to stick all 4 of these, you are a 31 health character, realistically.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking any ways to unflip it. Like, yeah, this is getting out of hand. It certainly gets a little out of hand.
And it's one of those things that if you get multiple copies out there and you're able to unflip them with Naval Laser Beam or Glamorous or something like that, people aren't prepared for a 7-hand Nomu.
No, they're just not ready for it. Like, they're simply just not prepared for it. So, I mean, yeah, what more is there to say, right? Just a very, very powerful card.
Yep. Next is 4 copies of Apathetic.
Yep.
This is one of those cards that we talked about that just takes away your opponent's cool toys.
Yep. Being able to just on demand flip any of their foundations just by flipping this, like, it's nice with it. It's just a very, very important control piece, right? And just like being a +3 high block is not great. Same thing with Regen's +4 high block. But at the same time, we are Eraser. Everything has -2 speed. So these are like potentially actually playable, right? You know, your average like what 5 speed attack is actually a 3 speed. I'll block on a 6. I'll block on a 7. Not like the worst thing in the world, right?
No. And when it comes to Super Regen, I basically consider it to not have a block modifier.
Yeah, I mean, when are
blocking with.
Yeah, when are you not building a Super Regen or really an apathetic for that matter?
Because
right?
the other thing with this build is you are much less risk averse. You're able to half block things with your erases a lot more commonly than either Void or All can with Eraser, because you have the fallback plan of Super Regeneration.
You have the heal. You know, you're not like one of the other builds that's like really struggling to kind of, you know, make sure they can perfect block everything, because the second they start chipping at you, like every piece of damage is so valuable, right? Void does have villains defeated. Yo, Card effects. Thank you for the follow, bro. Like Void does have villains defeated, right? And that is a powerful heal tool as well, but it's not as thick as our Super Regens. It's not as thick.
Nope. And it's not recyclable in the same way.
No, we do not have as much unflip potential in Void.
Yup. Next, speaking of unflip potential, 3 copies of Glamorous.
3 copies of Glamorous. This bad boy, after we build it, has a response to unflip our foundation, so any of our cool apathetics and super regens, we can just go ahead and get right back to reuse. And it also has an enhance to flip and give an attack +3 speed, only playable if our speed is less than printed.
Now, that is a really important element because our float combo. If you use the combo enhance in order to swap your speed and your damage, you wind up below your printed speed. So you can effectively use your Glamorouses in order to get a +3 speed after you switch, making things even more dangerous.
Yep, so then it comes in as what, a 7 high for 6, and then you can erase loop it for a 9 high for 6?
Yep.
That's crazy. All for just flipping a foundation.
Or a 7 high for 8.
Or a 7 high for 8. Yeah, depending on when you want to give speed and combo. Like that's what makes it the best card in the deck. Yep. Like that versatility. Yeah. We literally had the exact same word coming in right there. The versatility of float combo interacting with the rest of the deck just makes it so much powerful.
Yeah. Here, let's go around.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Keep everything center frame so it's legible. Next is 2 copies of First Day of Class. I only ran this at 2. It kind of feels cloggy at anything more because you're not looking to string a whole bunch of attacks together. You're looking to just get out what you need. So anything more than that isn't really necessary, but this does help you mitigate your bad checks and keep your resources open for you in order to block your opponent. Because a lot of characters in this game look at Eraserhead funny and kill it, and that's something that you really just don't have the luxury of disrespecting. Even if you have a couple of super regens on the board, you can't disrespect the aggro that comes out of Froppy. You can't disrespect the aggro that comes out of Ogiro. So you have to have something to help preserve your resources.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you are still a 19 health squishy boy. But yeah, this card just makes it a lot. It just kind of enables you to play your attacks a lot easier, especially because like you have so many 5 diffs in this deck, right?
Yep.
Also, like the optimal like opener, right, is like turn the dust into float combo, right? So you can combo with your high attack, and then it's on a 5 and then on a 6. So like being able to have like the next check getting +2 to play the float combo on a 6 is a lot better. Just really gives you a lot more leeway if you do happen to check that 3, right? Or hell, even that 4, right? We do have 4s in this deck, right?
Yep. And if you check this, if you have this on board early, it makes things a lot easier on your first attack turn to, even if you check bad, you can still keep going if you absolutely need to and draw a little too much orange and need to get it out there.
100%.
Next is 2 copies of Night Watch. Unfortunately, only one of these is XR.
Oh, so only one works, right?
Only one of them works properly.
So Night Watch is a really insane control piece. It has a response to remove itself and remove 1 action card from your discard pile from the game. After your rival plays a non-character enhance, cancel it. This is extremely powerful. I mean, this shuts down, anything and everything, right? Anything that Eraser isn't touching, on their character, anything else you can take down as well, which is very powerful.
It also will take certain combo decks and just end their turn right there. A Staff Strike deck cannot continue their turn if you have a live Night Watch on board and they play down the Staff Strike.
Yeah,
They just can't.
It's simply not happening. It is the off button to so much powerful stuff in this game. It's got a very threatening deadlock as well to add a combo attack from the card pool to the hand.
Oh.
It's pretty strong.
Oh,
Pretty strong. Wow, what's our combos? Wow, look at our cool combos we've got here.
Oh man.
Best card in the deck.
Yep, best card in the deck. Next, just this one is Arrogant Disposition. This is a 6 check. And that is the primary reason that it is here. But punch decks do exist in the meta, so it being on board is not bad for you. But if it's on board against a non-punch deck, it's a really good target to flip down with Naval Laser Beam.
Yep, it's a nice flip target. It's a nice commit it to pass a check and then blow it up with turn dust.
Yep.
You know, it's just good fodder, and it's just being a nice 2-low block. Again, a huge premium in this deck, and a 6 check that, like, I mean, if you're against a punch deck, this is like oppressive, right?
Yep.
Commit for 3 speed every single turn. Like it's commit for 3 speed, and then I'm also a Eraserhead, so -5 speed.
Yeah.
Like that's just mean, man.
Punches just don't get through easily on Eraser when you have those on board.
Don't punch me or bro. Texas Smash. I think that's a 1 high for a billion actually.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry, a -1 high for a billion actually.
All right. Next are 4 copies of Mediator. This Eraser is generally a high action count character by comparison to a lot of other characters anyway. And this particular build is particularly high action count. So this is a very live card most of the time, both with the -3 speed at all times, but also with the extra draw. Helps you just keep yourself alive in a ton of situations, and there is so much speed hate in this deck.
Yeah. Just being able to trade a foundation and then like getting the card back, so you're not even minusing one in the first place. For -3 speed, -3 speed's a lot, man. And like we're a Eraserhead, that's -5 speed. Like again, basically like they have to play more attacks than you have cards in your hand because like everything is getting blocked. Literally everything is getting blocked. Everything is going to be like the slowest move in the entire whole wide world.
Yup. Next are 4 copies of Shock Absorption. Yet more speed hate.
Speaking of speed hate.
Yep.
Again, being able to pop itself from -2 speed, still a really, really good trade. Also being playable while committed, right? The words playable while committed on any card make my heart thump, man. Those are some very, very attractive words right there.
Yeah, and it's very easy to have to commit resources with some of your strings, and being able to commit Shock Absorption without losing anything, like it has no opportunity cost. And that's really nice in this deck, is being able to play things without consequences.
Yeah, anytime my opponent wants to stun me, I'm like, awesome.
Yep, every time.
I'm like, that's so cool, bro. That is absolutely gnarly.
Neat. Next are 2 copies of Villainous Entrance. This is mostly here for the low block, but also, if you manage to build it early, throwing an extra stun 1 on a turn to dust on turn 2 is incredibly brutal. Having 3 options to pick from and forcing them to pay that 2 to cancel or just get to blow up a foundation of your choice is really hard. It means that you're able to get your early poke in very easily, rob them of a lot of resources, and just follow it up with that float combo for even more.
Yeah, it's nice with it. And I mean, the occasional, hey, when they build a foundation, let me flip this like very mediocre card and just make you commit it. Like that can be really relevant sometimes, right? You know, my opponent really wanted that foundation reset with hardened jab or hardened chop. Like, oh no, I don't think you have it actually.
Nope.
So it's a nice handy little card. It's an underwhelming card, but when you actually use it, you're like, oh, this is like kind of okay actually. I'm not like mad that it's in my deck. I'm not unimpressed with it, right? Just don't expect more than what it gives.
Yep. Last for the foundations is 4 copies of Tight-Lipped. Getting a little bit of extra incidental damage through is really, really nice with Eraser. Every little bit of damage counts. And it's also a nice 1 mid block that you just have on spam. It's real easy to get out there.
This is one of the best spams in the game, and like flipping a useless foundation for 1 extra damage can just be really handy sometimes. Like on a kill turn, like that can be what gets you there, right?
Yup. Now we'll go to assets and actions. We'll
let's
start
see
with the singular asset of a Tray Sheet Cape. Really nice to have. It's kind of a luxury item because it's really not something that you need. It doesn't.
I mean, it is. Look at that sparkle. That's luxury as hell, man. How much that cape cost, Aoyama? How much that cape cost, man?
But it's not something you need on board. Not having it doesn't ruin your game plan. Checking it is not something you feel really bad about. It is just one of those things that when you get it on the board, you just feel like you are in more control of the game than you already were.
Yeah, you just have a lot of recycle potential with your apathetics and your super regions. Like, it's slow, yes, like it is like over the course of 3 turns that you actually get to eventually come back and use the apathetic or the regen. But at the same time, like, you're playing Eraser, right? You have a lot of turns, right? And I mean, even if you just play it and get one unflip out of it, like, it's as if you played the additional regen or apathetic, which is like more than valuable enough on a spam, right? On a one diff, yeah, all day.
All right, and you already saw one of them earlier, but we are playing 3 copies of Erase, not the full 4.
Yep, we kind of talked about this card already, but I guess it's more of a matter of, like, why do we only play the 3, right?
So the reason that I only play the 3 is I'm only playing 2 Night Watch. I don't need to overload on these actions. They have a remove cost for the enhance, and primarily you're using it for the enhance on Eraserhead, not the enhance on Erase itself, as well as the response on Erase itself, which keeps it in your discard pile.
Right.
The thing you don't want really is your Erases being out of the game. You want the redundancy in case you absolutely need to turn something off, but you don't want to clog up on them.
Yeah, makes sense. Especially if they're just not sending mid attacks at you. You know, we don't get to play stuff like tape, right? Or something like the void build. Like, so we are really limited, you know, as far as like the versatility of our one mid block and how far it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Next are 3 copies of Evil Gaze.
Evil Gaze, man, this is one of my favorite cards in the game right here. Probably my favorite ultra rare in the game. This card's just insane. An enhance to lose 2 health, give an attack +2 or -2 speed, and if it's blocked, you get to destroy one of their foundations. You, the Evil Gaze player, get to pick. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it also, it can be used offensively to get that extra 2 speed that you need in order to get something through, push for lethal, or just make it so that there is an incentive to not block it.
Yeah. Yeah, I very much proactively use my Evil Gaze if I just really want to force a poke in, and I feel like that's going to give me a lot of traction, right? Like, especially in Eraserhead, right? +4 speed, and if you block it, I get to pop one of your things. Nah, man, as long as that's not like more than 6 or 7, I'm taking that all day.
Yep.
And then you build and you go on with your day, and you have a happy life, right? Like, and like using the card, it's essentially as if you played a second attack to force that damage through, but you only had to do it by playing this free action.
Yep.
Right.
And these are the target that you want to remove for your Night Watch. They're the ones that if you check them, you're like, cool, this is what I'm using as my ammo for Night Watch.
Yep. I think having access to a card like Evil Gaze is one of the strongest parts about playing this character under Death.
Yep. And then last, and most certainly not least, 2 copies of Plus Ultra, the best block in the game.
Yeah, if you don't know what this thing does, when you block with it, you make their speed 0, so it's always on a 5. Insane. And it's got a first enhance to pitch momentum, doubling some speed or damage. Nothing crazy, right?
Nah.
Yeah. It's only a 14 high for 4. You have no hand because I took it all away. Well, here's 14 damage.
Yeah. and playing Plus Ultra turns on your Binding Claw captures.
Yeah, it certainly does. It is an action that we're playing. That's one of the strongest parts about this whole action lineup, right? Is we have so many ways to turn on. You know, we can seal, we can turn off their character, or we can seal something with this. We can go ahead and Evil Gaze something early on in the chain, and then the Binding Cloth captures are just going to come in at their lovely 3 diff and call it a day. So that's the entire main deck, right? That's our whole main deck. You want to go over the sideboard a little bit?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go over the least important parts of the sideboard first, and then we'll go to the part that makes it really spicy.
All right, okay.
So I am playing the 4th copy of Evil Gaze.
Right.
It is something that's really nice to have, especially considering I do sideboard some options where I want to actually get out of Eraser. And I would rather play something else. So being able to sub this in for an erase and then sub some other things in for the other 2 erases is really nice in those situations where you just don't need it.
Yeah,
and you're worried about clogging up on it.
There's a lot of matchups where there's just really problematic reusable foundations that you want to get off the board. You know, just stuff like Rescue Completed.
Yep.
Rescue Completed, I want to get off the board all day.
Irrefutable Force of Nature.
Irrefutable Force of Nature, you want to get off the board all day.
Wall Cling.
Yep. Wall Cling, you want to get off the board all day, or just force them to use it in like a position where it's not even like as optimal, right? Like it's just handy to have the 4th and stuff where you just want to get rid of a lot of very specific foundations.
Yup. Next is 3 copies of Exploding Pride.
Yep.
This card is really, really good momentum hate. Any of those decks that just pile up a billion momentum this will just burn them out for a good amount of damage and force them to either take the damage that you're throwing at them or discard their momentum.
Yep, it's pretty much always going to be like 5 or 6 damage against momentum deck because like you're going to burn them for like the 2 or 3, right? 1 for each of their momentum. And then they're probably taking it because it's only 3 damage in our character. So like they're going to eat 3 all day and it's like, well, cool, I just got my 5, 6 damage in. Time to call it a day and build, right? Yeah, it's really, really good card. And again, against stuff like Ogiro and just like so many good air decks are around right now and so many good momentum decks in general that you have to have this specific hate for those guys, right?
Yep. Next is 3 copies of Decaying Grip.
Whoa, now. So we got Decaying Grip here. It's got a cool combo enhance, right?
Yep.
It can only be blocked by block modifiers of +3 or greater.
Yep.
Pretty nice right there. But what is that right there? Is that a Shigaraki response?
Maybe.
That when we block with this card, ready your character?
Yeah.
Now, why is a Shigaraki response in this sideboard?
Maybe because there's a Shigaraki in the sideboard.
Yes. So we side Shigaraki. So kind of go into detail on why we're trying to side characters, right? If Eraser's such this god tier character, why are we getting off of him?
So there are matchups where you're really not favored as Eraser. Ogiro definitely comes to mind.
Yep, Ogiro. I mean, one of the most powerful decks right now is Ogiro, and your character does not do a whole lot against them. Ochako 1 is another character that comes to mind. There's just situations where you do not want to be on Eraserhead simply because he does not affect the matchup that hard.
Yeah. And rather than dedicate sideboard slots to a whole bunch of cards that turn Shigaraki into a monster, I decided to mainboard them.
Yep. So we have already got stuff like Float Combo, letting us, get our free burn 6, right? We've already got Turn to Dusts. We've got Corrosion Lunges. Like we've already got a lot of cards in our main board that make this like a decent Shigaraki deck. So it's very easy to side in and out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that comes up relatively often is that combo enhance on your Decaying Grips. Being able to force them into using a 3+ block can really screw some things up and screw up their math. When they've been keeping really good blocks for you and they're not expecting to have to use a 3+, you can really sneak some damage through that way.
A lot of people just don't have a +3 on hand, right?
Yep. They just don't keep them. They want to build them.
Yeah, they build them all day because why would I ever play? Like the only ones that really come to hand is like stuff like Precise Control can be picked up at any time, and then Meteor Showers and the Momentum can be picked up at any time. But again, you just like don't go into it in those situations, or you just do and you just say like, yeah, hey, like commit out to block this attack, right?
Yep.
And then I'll send like the real threat at you.
Yep.
And then what's our last sideboard cards?
Oh, we have 2.
We got 2 more.
So we have another character in Nomu. There are some characters that Nomu just absolutely dunks on.
Yeah.
And there is a really nice thing about being a printed 6-speed attack that comes in for 9 damage.
Yeah, 6 high for 9 sounds awesome, Will.
Also, 9 high for 6 sounds awesome too.
Both of those are some pretty gnarly options. Yeah, basically anything that's coming at us, like it's kind of what I call like these silver bullet decks, right?
Yep.
Any decks that really want to like commit like really hard to like one big attack, like you can just go into Nomu and tell them they're not allowed to play like that. They have to play the game like a normal human being. Like any All Might deck, yeah, man, those big Detroit Smashes, those big Texas Smashes, all these big 11 damage moves, like, nah, man, they're actually 6 instead. Anything reliant on like a big old reciprocal burst, it's actually 6 instead, bro.
Yep.
Jiro playing her huge attack at the end, right? Any air deck playing their home run comets, their 1.3 million volts. No, bro. Those are 6 damage, man. Those are 6 whole damages. No more response all day.
And it is a very big adjustment to go from playing Eraser to playing Nomu.
It is. This very much is not a Nomu deck. No. But when you're siding into those matchups where Nomu is such a powerful character just because of his printed abilities, that the main deck being a little worse for him isn't that big of a deal because you're getting so much advantage just out of being the silver bullet to their playstyle.
And you can kind of fix your ratios by throwing in more attacks in place of the erases.
Yeah.
It helps out with being able to see your attacks more consistently, and forcing them to use 3+ blocks on when you're Nomu is scary as hell.
It is
too.
very scary, because we're only playing 18 attacks in this deck, so we definitely want to get in a few more attacks as far as our ratios are concerned once we're coming into this big boy.
Yeah. Now, last, this one is the unfortunately, my friend Ogiro here had to be repossessed. Rip our boy Ogiro.
Rip our boy Ogiro. He's been Steamboat Willied.
Yeah, I did borrow a copy of him for provisionals. I appreciate my friend Tim for allowing me to utilize it. But Ogiro is another character that combos very heavily with our best card in the deck, Float Combo.
Yep.
For those of you that aren't aware, the way that this works is you use the once per game on Ogiro to buff the speed of Float Combo to the moon. Then you go to switch the speed and the damage, but because the speed can't be reduced, the speed remains where it is, the damage climbs up to where it's supposed to be, and sometimes you just one-shot a frog.
Yep. The float combo will attempt to swap both values, but then because Ogiro prevents it from being reduced, it will simply do as much as it can and make the damage as big as the speed, but the speed will remain whatever huge number it's at after your once per game. It's pretty gnarly little combo there.
It is very spicy, and it definitely contributed to some of my success. I didn't wind up making tops or anything, but it was still good to have that answer to everything in the sideboard, and it be something that you know you're gonna have every game because it's printed on the face of the character that you're playing. Because that's a big thing with a lot of sideboard cards is sometimes you don't see them, but if you are sideboarding a character who is good in the matchup, you are going to see them every single time. So having all these different options to play throughout your game is so nice to be able to do pretty much whatever you need to.
Yeah, this is the Death Ensemble Eraserhead deck, right? This is the Barbershop Quartet Eraserhead deck. But yeah, so that's pretty much the entirety of the list. I guess we can go ahead and zoom out and give a nice big look at the deck in its entirety, the entirety of the beautiful list. And I guess if you have any finishing thoughts on the deck that you kind of want to go over.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good deck. It does well into eraser mirrors. It does well into a lot of the field, but the sideboard exists for those elements that it doesn't. There are definitely some things that I think might be worth exploring, such as Touch of Decay. Touch of Decay
is a pretty powerful attack.
Yeah, and it having if it's not blocked, to draw a card, as well as the ability to pick itself back up, can help you aggro out in those matchups that you really need to. It's hard to find space for it, and that's the hard part of this deck. Is everything is very confined, and you need a lot of moving pieces in order to make it work. So you're gonna have those double build turns most of the time in the early game, and be a little bit slow, and you're gonna go to time. And this is definitely not a deck that you want to commit to for a big tournament if you're not willing to spend that time, learn your matchups, and be willing to go to time and know that you're gonna get game one every time. It's a hard thing to commit to, but it's absolutely rewarding if you do.
Yeah, it's a very slow, methodical deck. It takes a really long time to kill, for it to be killed, and it also takes a really long time for it to kill the opponent as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's a very interesting deck, man. Thanks Will, for coming on the channel and sharing this super duper interesting deck with us. And if you go ahead and try out this bizarro list yourself, go ahead and leave some comments down below and kind of let us know your feedback on it. Let us know if you're enjoying it, what kind of results you're seeing it. But if that's all you've got to say, Will, thanks for watching, everybody. It's Alliteration Gaming and Will, sans Will plus a Will, signing off. Bye, guys. See y'all in the next one.